This program, Women in Entrepreneurship, I'm really excited about. When I was just 27, I moved to Atlanta and started my own business. And I can tell you, I had no ladies to turn to get advice. I had nowhere to go. I had SCORE, which is part of the Atlanta business volunteer group. They're usually white-haired guys. Nothing wrong with that, but you just didn't have the women to turn to that we have today. And I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out and giving us your wisdom and your stories and trials and tribulations and helping us, because I think that we all aspire to being our own boss. And it's all about boss women and super moms, and I'm so glad to have you. I'd like to introduce now Diane Estner. She is a business dev strategist, and she works with global hospitality, and she's a go-to-market specialist. And you'll learn more about her as the program goes on. And now I'll turn it over to Diane.
Thank you, Liz. Well, first, thank you all for coming, because this isn't the best weather, the best conditions. It's interesting because you talk about wanting to be your own boss. I actually have a few statistics I'm going to share that show that the number one reason why women pursue their own businesses is to pursue their passion, while males are actually identified as wanting to be their own boss. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. We have an amazingly diverse, it may not look diverse, but I can tell you we have 2 B2Cs and 2 B2Bs. We're going to be sharing a lot of information, hopefully, that is really helpful and inspiring you to engage and share your questions. And I would encourage you to do that. If you have a question, just put your hand up, and if it's relevant, let it be relevant to what we're discussing. We'd like to invite you to kind of participate, okay? Let me share just a few things. The number of women business owners have increased 18% in 2017. Today, 26% of business owners are women, 72% are men. Women small business owners tend to have a higher education, which is not surprising. I'm just going to say it. I'm a little partial. The top 5 states for women business is actually California's number 1, and Florida, Texas, Georgia's number 4, and then New York. So, and it's in that order. So, again, I've just shared kind of the motivation between men and women and actually establishing their own business. So most women business owners who own their own businesses have anywhere between 2 to 5 employees, and followed by just 1 employee, which is themselves. And that's me. I'm kind of a sole entrepreneur, if you will. I provide technology consulting services, and I work with a team of independent consultants, and I work with startups. So I'm very passionate about supporting people who are considering taking the leap, because it's a big leap. You've got to have confidence. You really have to have a vision, and that's what we're going to be sharing here. So let me start with Adria, and if you would, just take a few minutes and share a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go through. We put together some questions, and hopefully, if you have some as well, we can encourage that. So
sure. Hi everyone, my name is Adria Levtchenko. I'm the CEO and co-founder of PurpleCloud Technologies. That is a back-of-the-house software system for hotels. So pretty much housekeepers, engineers, everyone that runs the back of a hotel is on my system. And then we do high-level analytics for the third-party managers and the owners and the brands on how everything is operating and how they can be better and save a ton of money. Yep, that's coming.
Is it on? Yep. Okay, perfect. I'm Marlys Bergstrom, and I'm the managing partner and founder of Bergstrom Law. And we basically do the 2 Ds, divorce and death. So I think I'm pretty well covered. Whether there's technology or not, I'm covered. Really quickly, one thing I'd like to say is you guys are really, really fortunate to have a group like this, because I was just thinking about it as they were talking about it. When I started this, I don't know if you know many lawyers, but they're the most unsupported group of people there are. So, you know, it's kind of like, sure, go start your own business, you know, and then I'll come out, you know, and then I'll stab you in the back. So you guys are very, very fortunate to have this support system, and so I do hope you take advantage of it.
Hi, I'm Eren Thibadeau. I'm mostly the single mom of an amazing 7-year-old. And I never actually wanted to be in business at all. I wanted to be a movie star, and I got my degree in journalism, but I graduated in 2000 and I needed to eat and put a roof over my head. And I found myself at a major telecom company because with the degree in journalism and an enormous amount of websites that were coming into play, they all needed content and somebody had to write that. And so now I ended up being the executive vice president of a family-owned technology service business, Deau Document Scanning Solutions. You might notice that Deau Document Scanning Solutions is the last 4 letters of my last name, Thibadeau. Yes, it's true, I started out working for my dad. But at that point, I was actually still employable by other people. And during my time in telecom, I'd learned that I really liked building systems that helped people do their best work with the least amount of effort. I'm inherently lazy.
I doubt that.
So that concept is really at the heart of my business. But what I really view as my personal mission is that I have a strong belief in empowerment that results from an equitable workplace. And by automating what I can, and by getting people to do, or highly valued people to do non-repetitive jobs and exception-based jobs, you end up with a culture where you value your people and those people value themselves. In 2003, when I came to Deau, it was a lifestyle side hustle for my dad, who actually owned another business at the time. And he was billing around $40,000 per year. This year, we're on track to build $2 million. And since 2011, we've annually received sales achievement awards as well as use case awards for creative software implementation for both state government as well as highly regulated companies in the utility industry. And now I'm in the process of launching my personal brand, which focuses on using this same technology to level the playing field for people who are experiencing strong competing pulls in their lives. And I deal with that daily because I have a 7-year-old. Mom, 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 mom. So the second I end up with my clients not saying Eren, Eren, Eren anymore, I end up with this Patrick who says mom, mom, mom. I'm really excited to be here with you guys, and I look forward to contributing and then learning from this panel and from you all. So thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Renee Palmer, and I'm a serial entrepreneur in the pet industry. Currently, I am the founder and CEO of City Dog Market, and our niche is focusing on healthy, holistic pet food and treats that you would not find in mass market like grocery store or big box stores. And we have locations in Brookhaven. Celebrated 11 years in Brookhaven this past April. And we celebrate 2 years in June at our Avondale Estates location. And other pet-related ventures that I've been a part of have included a pet boutique at Lenox Mall, and also I got into the mobile pet treat truck business for a bit. Prior to that, I was the owner, founder of a dog daycare and boarding business. That was my first foray into the pet industry, 13,000 square feet, did cattery, retail training, dog wash, on-site obedience training, and then also daycare and boarding. My life before that was probably where you're sitting. I worked for various companies in corporate America for 12 years in sales and in recruiting, and got into HR management. Loved my career and got my dream job, and the industry I was in tanked, and I took the severance package and decided that I would open up that 13,000 square foot dog daycare and boarding business, go big or go home. So I like to say that I left the conference room for the doghouse. And I've never looked back. It's been a wonderful experience. I get to have fun doing what I'm doing, which is #1 priority. and I get to be in service and of service, both to my pet parents and to the dogs and cats that we serve, and also to our homeless pet community. I'm very proud that our stores really go above and beyond when it comes to helping out our homeless pet community and the local pet shelters and rescue organizations that we have. So it's a wonderful feeling to be able to give back to so many folks who do so much. So thank you for the invite. Happy to be here. Let's have a good time.
Thank you. I think it is important to note that everyone here, myself included, I mean, we've all been in the corporate environment, and there is a leap of faith that's required to kind of like, okay, we can do this. Because, I mean, how many out there right now are currently operating your own business or thinking about it? Okay. So, it takes a certain degree, I mean, you really have to believe in yourself, and you have to really go beyond what you've been told. You're kind of changing your belief system. So, and it's exciting. Of course, I can tell you personally, I'm used to making more money, but I'm definitely happier. So, let's go ahead and start with some questions. We've put together a list of questions to kind of draw out on some of our experiences in part of this journey. And again, invite everyone to participate where you feel it's relevant. But what do you think it's important in terms of creating an intention for when you're starting a business, and having an exit strategy? I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah. So I personally think that the biggest thing is you have to have strong passion, kind of just what you were saying about, because it's the only thing that's going to get you through those really tough times of, oh man, there's not enough money in the bank account to pay X, Y, and Z. So you have to remind yourself why you started and what's going to push you through until that big milestone is achieved that gets you to that next level. As far as exit strategies goes, you always have to be aware of them. Just, I'm a tech company, so obviously I've, run the scalable investor path, clients, that's, very much the pitch deck. So you have to know your exit strategy as a tech company. But in my mind, if you don't have the passion driving it, and if it's the money driving you, then you're in the wrong industry. You're in the wrong path, because that's not going to get you through those tough times. You're going to quit. You're going to go back to corporate world. You're going to drive your BMW and not the hunk of junk that you came in, So I think that's the big thing. You just have to focus on why did you leave in the first place? Why did you feel that fire burning in your soul? And how do you keep that alive?
Thank you. Anybody else?
I think one of the things when you're looking and when you look at how you engage your prospects and your clients that you do need to be aware. When I started out, I was looking at an 18-month sales cycle because I had to educate the market. Paperless offices are now, most people understand that scanning documents is a way of life. But when I started in 2003, it was very, there were still a lot of regulatory mandates that said you had to have a wet signature. And so there wasn't the opportunity for the paperless transactions that there are now. And there weren't the precedents that had already been set regarding e-discovery and the way that things held up in court. And so when I was looking at how was I going to do this, there was a huge amount of confidence. And so I got a lot of traction in manufacturing. And when I was looking at that, and as I started looking at what is my ultimate growth strategy? Am I building something to sell? Am I looking to create a legacy? Am I looking to, I ended up having a coach who kind of boiled it down to a football analogy. And he said, you have innies, outies, passers, and squeezers, and that's it. Everything else, that is the only thing that you've got, because you're either going to sell to internal investors, external investors, you're going to pass it down to the next generation, or you're going to squeeze every penny out of it and shut it down. And so when you understand that, then the way you interact with your prospects, and in terms of whether or not you're in it for the long haul, or whether or not you're looking to do a transaction and then exit, is something that you want to consider on the front end. And I always knew that I was a relationship type of a person, and that when somebody was going to engage with me, that was going to be hard for them to get out of. That was my benefit. But I also wanted to be able to say, you know what, we're going to put a surcharge on people that I don't want to work with. I have an inappropriate surcharge name for it that's lined up in my but I think that's one of the things that always bears in mind. And I knew that as a third generation family business that we were going to have to be agile enough to reflect. My dad came out of, my grandfather was a real estate guy. First, before that, he was in insurance. Then they owned hotels. And then he went into content management as a side hustle. And so I'm not sure that I want that for Patrick. And so I need to be positioned and diversified enough to be able to sell that to an external investor. So I'm constantly looking at those kinds of things when I'm setting up that business plan and business development and who I'm going to court as my potential prospects.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
That's a lot of work. Mine was a lot easier than that.
Divorce or die.
Yeah, I got them covered. Which one should I do? And by the way, lawyers haven't hit the paperless offices.
Yeah, but I've met lawyers. I mean, you're the exception.
Yeah, I'm old, that's why. It's an interesting question. Why is it important to understand your intention? And you kind of touched on it. I think it's important to understand your intention because as you're going through this, it's going to be very easy to just want to, I'll go back to corporate. I'll go back to corporate. You know, I'll go back and work for PricewaterhouseCoopers. You know, I got to go to great lunches and, you know, stay in great hotels. It's, you know, better than this. But I think every time I would think that, or my mother would say it, it was like, well, no, because I know why I did this. I've done the corporate. It was great. I made money. I saw a lot of great things, worked with a lot of great people, but this is what I need to do now for me. This is something I wanted to do since law school, and I questioned myself every day why I thought I wanted to do divorce law. But, I mean, I do like it, and so that I have that. I know what my intention was in getting into it, so that kind of keeps me going when, you know, it's like you said, how are we going to pay the, you know, when are they paying their bill? Things like that.
Renee?
You have to be prepared for that, right? That cash flow.
I don't know how, can you tell me how you prepare for that? Because I haven't figured it out yet.
It's not your steady Eddie, you know, paycheck.
Right.
No, it's not. Which is kind of fun though too, because, you know, you have good months and really good months, and then you have, you know, really good weeks, and then, you know, you don't get anything else for a couple more. But yeah, it's hard. That's hard. Very hard.
Well, you have to definitely, you can only eat what you kill.
Yeah.
So you're constantly hunting for business and that type of thing.
And that's exhausting.
Renee?
Yeah, I'll just add real quickly that for me, you know, I feel like sometimes happy is a loaded word. What makes you happy? How many times, right? What makes you happy? So my goal was in owning a business was, you know, what's gonna be really satisfying, because that I could do. I could do something that was really, really satisfying, and so for me, it was really important to make sure that my intention for creating this business was to be what I like to call purpose-driven. So my dog daycare and boarding business was very personality-driven. If I was there, man, customers, you know, loved to see me, shake my hand, had confidence, but I couldn't be there all the time. And I needed them to have the same confidence in me, in my staff, that they had in me. So I wanted to make sure that when I moved out of that industry and moved into City Dog Market, that my store was not personality driven. It wasn't the Renee show. It was the team show. It was the City Dog Market show. So it was about the product and about the experience. So it was really important for me to create an experience, because honestly, you could buy the same products that I carry on my shelf I could give you the names of 10 other stores that you could go buy those at. So why would someone want to come and shop with City Dog Market? Because I'm going to create an experience that they're not going to forget. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to curate my merchandise. I'm going to research. I'm going to make sure that what I put on the shelf I feel good about, I feel satisfied about. And then I'm going to collaborate with that customer. I'm going to get to know them. I'm going to build a relationship with them. And then I'm going to customize what I'm offering to them by recommending products and services that strengthen the relationship that they share with their pets. And I'm also going to do that across the board. I'm going to curate, I'm going to collaborate, and I'm going to customize my employee experience, which are also customers. And I'm going to ask them how we can get better, how we can improve, What are we doing well? What can we do better? What can we do for you? Those are all questions I never got asked as an employee at a major Fortune 500 company. And I wanted to run my little company much differently. And I run that. I do the we use that curate, collaborate, and customize across the board with our products, with our customers, and with our employees. And it's a formula for me that's worked.
Thank you. You know, one of the things that we talked about is, you know, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do you build the business or the technology or the product and then find the customers, or do you find the customers and then build the product and the services? What are your thoughts about that, Adria?
So I think it's a little bit of both. I think the biggest thing you have to do before you go down that path is customer discovery. You have to make sure that, you know, there is a willing paying customer out there for what's in your head. But I think you need to have a vision of what your business is to ask the right questions. You know, how else are you going to know that they're willing to pay for something if you don't describe it well? So I think that you have to do that first and foremost. Then as soon as you have that validation and kind of that feasibility analysis, right? Someone's going to pay for this. Here's how much they're willing to pay for this. Okay, this is worth risking my life over. Let's do this. Then you can start building the technology. But I think one of the things that I did was I tried to perfect the technology first, which is biggest mistake you can make in technology. Yeah. So you're supposed to make an MVP, minimally viable product, right? And that's what you're supposed to do. You know, I got fortunate. I got a luxury 5-star hotel as my first pilot property, and I listened to every single person's thoughts and ideas of what should go into this product. And then I spent the next, you know, I would say a year and a half continuously building that, at least. And that was our MVP, and I was gonna have to completely rebuild that to scale it. So the biggest thing I can teach in this specific point is get the MVP out there, prove out the really biggest pain point in that spot, and then build upon it. You know, definitely then you have a business.
Great. Thank you.
Marlys, you're in kind of a unique position because people do die and people do divorce. So
They do. Yeah. What? I'll tell you what clients are the worst ones to deal with, and you probably will guess that. I was listening to what you were saying, and it's interesting because with me there's you know what my product is. The product has been for thousands of years, you know, back to when they wore the wigs. So for me, it was just kind of, good or bad about my personality, but I'll just do something. It's like, oh, I'm gonna start a business today, and I just go out and do it, and I find where I can get the customers. I mean, I'm pretty smart about that. You know, I've worked at companies where you had to, you know, the mantra was you've got to bring in clients. So I could do that, but, and I think that's probably one of the strong things that's gotten me where I am, because I'll see people that are thinking about doing their own thing, and they're just, I'm going to do it. Now I'm going to do it. No, not a good time. No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. No, tomorrow. And you know what you got to do is scary as all get out, but I think the more you sit and think about it, the scarier it gets. So just, seriously, I woke up one day and I said, well, guess I'll start my own firm now. And, you know, I've learned as I've gone, but you can't just sit around and wait, because you'll never know everything. Just like you were kind of, you'll never know everything.
yeah, for sure.
I think one of the things is it is important to understand the difference between, like, Adria and I are both in a situation where we have very custom solutions, as opposed to something where, you know, and Marlys, you've got a situation where there are people who just need a will package, and that's kind of a skew. I mean, you know how to do it. It's I don't want to simplify it too much, but it's kind of a mail merge function. And then, you know, there's and then there's consumer goods and services where, for that, you really have to invest in yourself in the front end. You have to have, you know, things to sell, right? And, you know, whereas I could be a lot more theoretical. But the good part is that for those kinds of things, people understand them. You're not educating the market. You don't have to do the research on the front end, and so your ability to monetize that is much more rapid. And so you're able to actually pay your people initially, whereas we have to hope that people. Well, I mean, hopefully.
Some days.
But I mean, you're able to close the sale, and you're able to monetize that. And so when you're much more conceptual, trying to figure out that chicken or the egg thing, it's like, well, crap, we got to have something to show them,
Right, you got to build it
right.
to show them.
But you have to invest to get, to build it. And so at what point is too much? And I love your concept of this, minimally viable product, because it does do that risk mitigation for you. So I think that's a challenge that anybody has to figure out, especially when you're looking at more custom products and solutions.
Do you have anything, Renee, you want to offer, Ed?
I think you guys did a really nice job answering all that. I guess I just would add that I think it's important to make sure that that you're zeroing in on who you are and what it is that you're really all about. One of my teachers says the riches are in the niches, right? I don't know if you've heard of that. The riches are in the niches, but figuring out what that niche market is for yourself and really honing in on that and making sure that everything that you do is about that. I think sometimes we lose sight of the core. Try to be all things to all people. I can't offer everything to everybody in my store. I have to curate the merchandise. I have to figure out, really what is the best thing for me to sell, and what the need is, and so and tailor it accordingly. So.
Great. Okay. So what what have been your biggest business challenge?
Yeah, so I think I kind of touched on it a little bit already, just kind of trying to be all things to all people. With my software specifically, so I try to be entire back of house operations. I was trying to be one platform for every single person that runs a hotel. So, from the person that's the CEO of a hotel group down to the housekeeper, houseman, bellman, everything like that. And I think what ended up happening to our company was that stretched my team really, really thin. Myself, my marketing, my developers, and we were constantly chasing after, what our competitors were just putting into their product, and we're like, oh, we have to match that. But we also have our own vision and strategy roadmap. So, we were trying to do this, but we're also constantly filling this void that's kind of created by what your competitors are doing. So the biggest thing that we realized was, hey, we're really good at this one segment. Like, we need to focus here and blow everyone else out of the water. And that was a big, rapid shift. Our team just you could feel the weight being lifted off of their shoulders. And all of a sudden, everyone is just re-energized, and clients are loving what we're doing, because what we realized is that we were already focusing on the biggest labor problem in hotels, which is housekeeping. That's our biggest strength, is the housekeepers. Largest operating expense for a hotel. But we were like, oh, well, what does that little front desk person want, that there's 10 other solutions for? So we're just like, we're going to focus on this, and anyone that says, oh, I want a, QR code scanner for parts, that's just not it's not our major focus. So we're going to have to learn to say no. That was the hardest thing for me to learn, is say no.
Right, staying focused.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. For me, I think one of my biggest challenges was and is understanding my role in my own business, because I was in the corporate world, and I knew exactly what I was supposed to do and who I was supposed to report to and how I was supposed to behave, and entering your time had to be done this way, But now when I find that there's no real structure and it's just me, it's a lot more challenging. And I think if I would probably do anything differently, I would have spent some time talking, like you guys can, with other people that have done it, and trying to kind of map out and decide, this is going to be my role. Because unfortunately, I didn't do that, and then what happened to me is I began to doubt myself. And when you begin to doubt yourself, then what I did is I began to doubt myself. I wasn't smart, I couldn't do it, and so I would go and get a bunch of people that I thought could. And I'd hire a bunch of people that I thought could, and guess what? Robbed me blind. You know, I mean, they couldn't do it. And then I started to realize, oh, I'm not the dummy. I'm smart. I just got to stand up for myself. So I think understanding your role in your own business, I know it sounds like, well, yeah, no, duh, but it is not as easy as you think. And I think it's probably one of the most critical things you can think about. Because once you kind of start going and you're not your own, it's just not you and, you know, your computer, or you and your dog, and you got other people, they're going to be looking to you, you know, what's your role, so what's my role? So you got to be clear with that.
Great, thank you.
I think one of the biggest challenges, there's really two, and one of them for me has been trying to figure out what's urgent and what's important. You know, because everybody, when they call you, has the biggest emergency that has ever been, has ever occurred in the world. And, you know, it's like, I understand this is very important to you, but remembering that it's not, that it doesn't have to be very important to me. And then the other piece is communicating that, yes, it's nice to be an entrepreneur because you have a lot of flexibility, but that doesn't mean that you actually have the freedom to play hooky. Just because you could go to the beach and you don't have to ask anybody for vacation doesn't mean that you should 3 weeks out of every month. You know, there's a lot of discipline, and it's hard when you don't have somebody telling you what's most important or what needs to be done. There's no rubric, there's no standardization about the emergencies that are going to come up. And when you're looking to prioritize your day or to even plan your day, that can be hard, and you have to give yourself a lot of space. And sometimes it looks like, wow, what did I even get done? And if you don't leave that time, you can feel like you didn't get very much done, and that can be really frustrating.
Yeah.
For me, it's a number of things on biggest business challenges. How do I compete with big players in the game, and big box stores and chains? And the new biggest player is online.
Yeah.
Online for the pet industry, online growth was 45% this past year. Neighborhood store growth, like the kind of store that I have, 0.6% growth. Interesting, though, when someone orders their products online and they have a problem with their product and their dog, they come to my store for help. So that tells you, yeah, pretty much. So that tells you that, it tells me that there's a niche that online can't solve. When their dog passes away, they're not calling their online store rep saying, you know, my dog, but they're calling me, thank you so much for everything that you did. So how to compete, how to stay fresh and relevant in my industry. It's constantly changing, and sometimes I get asked, you know, do your folks go to vet tech school, or how do you guys know so much? You know, we really do a nice job of what I call store choreography. We require training. How we initiate a customer experience in our store is on purpose. It's not random. There's a reason why we say welcome when you walk in the door. Welcome to Moe's. Welcome to City Dog. So we want to be different. We want to give someone that experience that I talked about earlier. How many times have you walked into a store and not even been recognized? So I find myself going to other stores and saying, hey, how you doing? Oh, wait, this is not my store. But how we stay fresh and relevant. How do I attract and retain what I call above and beyond employees? I have a job posting out there right now on Indeed with 1,000 applications. And 999 of them I can't hire. So, you know, how do I find that employee who's going to take it upon themselves to do the research that is required? And folks, I'm not talking about, I'm not a headhunter. I'm not talking about mid-level managers and vice president, director level and above jobs like in my old corporate days. We're talking about hourly employees who care enough about the customer experience and believe in what they're recommending to take it upon themselves to do the work. How do I attract and retain customers, particularly with online? So I've got quite a few challenges. I stay busy. But delivering is how we do it, and we delivering, meaning delivering consistent service every time, and doing the best job we can every time. So.
Okay, thank you. You know, that kind of brings us to another, kind of segues into kind of the branding and the strategy of our marketing, because it's how we really present the value of our services and our businesses. What have you kind of used as a benchmark and as kind of a launch to brand, you know, your business,
Yeah.
and what have you found?
So I think the biggest thing for us that helped was consistency in hiring experts. So I'm one of those people that thinks I can do it all, and you know, I'm on Pinterest and Creative Market and downloading templates and stuff, and I think it just created this like very just, I don't know, patchwork of marketing. And when we hired some experts, they're like, what the hell were you thinking? And they're like, there's no common theme here. You have a new logo, a new tagline every day. So, you know, it's kind of like bringing these people that actually know what they're doing and trusting them to do it well. And I think that was a big thing for us. And, you know, we're just kind of overcoming my patchwork work. So anyways, it's starting to really show. You know, we have like a great animated video, and now people understand what the heck we do. And, you know, all of that kind of stuff really helped kind of start bringing in some sales that is way better when it's coming in versus when you're just cold calling. So, yeah.
Great. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll take this one. One of my mantras is, what got me here won't get me there. I have to be a change agent. I have to be willing to pivot in my business, and as a leader and as a business. And I have to be really comfortable with change. Change and me are best buddies. And I have to, yeah, sometimes, yeah. As it relates to branding and marketing, you know, boy, we live in a fast-paced world. And I better know who I am, and that's why the products and the services have to be consistent with the branding. You know what I want at the end of the day? I want raving fans as customers. I want to walk into a restaurant and see a customer in my neighborhood and walk up to me and say, man, oh man, your team did this. I want to be able to walk into, you know, Perimeter Mall, Lenox Mall, run into some customers. Wow, this is my experience in the store. And it's my goal to make sure that the customers that support our store, they're choosing me on purpose. They have a lot of options,
Right.
and I don't take that lightly. I want to make sure that they know that we appreciate them. There's a lot of different things that we have in our store, loyalty programs and such, to make sure that they know that we appreciate them. But I have been known to, you know, call customers. Hey, how's your experience today? Look and see who came in that day and give them a call. I hire secret shoppers to work the store so I can see if my employees are delivering the information that I want to deliver. I have to expand my cyber footprint digitally. So one of the things that, as it relates to branding and marketing that we've done recently is we've contracted with a digital marketing firm, because that is an area I don't know. When I started when City Dog Market opened in 2002, there was no such thing as Facebook. Or if it was this big. It was just getting started. So learning how to have a larger cyber footprint, for me, super important. So those are some of the branding and marketing strategies. And the last thing I'll say that I'm really proud about our store is I created the City Dog Market branded products. And those are our best-selling products. I have 11 different City Dog Market treats and or chews that are made for my store. And I'm really proud of those. That's one of the things that I personally work on, is developing the relationships that we have with those businesses that supply us with those, and then also branding those, but coming up with I'm the creative director for the company, so I come up with all the marketing and the way that everything looks. You can blame me for. So I'm really proud of those, and we've actually separated those products out from our inventory to see how do our own private label products, our branded products, stack up against competitors, and happy to say City Dog Market is on top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. All right. Okay, so I think it's probably safe to assume that everyone understands that when you work for yourself, you have a tendency to lose a sense of balance, because I don't know, I work a lot. I work a lot more, and I think we all do. So the next question is really around how do you do a reboot and how do you re-energize yourself? How do you, establish that balance? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm not the best one to talk about this.
I'm
still working on it. I think that for me, I'm very high anxiety, and I wake up every single night worrying about something that my client said, one of them or another. And I think the biggest thing is just like I listen to meditation music, just trying to remember to be grateful for the wins. I think that's the biggest thing that I'm working on. I have a grateful journal that I've started to do, 3 things you're grateful for. Yeah. So, and it works really well because I think it's the one thing that it's like when I'm feeling that really high anxiety, remembering, okay, I have a really great board of directors. My team just knocked it out of the park today. You just remembering what happened. Yes, exactly. Like, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I have legs that got me here. So, that's the kind of stuff that really helps kind of reboot me in that high anxiety moment. From the long-term way, I'm still working on that, so.
Well, and to add on to that, especially like in our position, there's so much of the I should be working.
Right.
I should be working.
Exactly.
When you take that time and you say, I'm gonna go and get a drink with friends, but I should be working. You're checking your phone and, oh my God, what did I miss? And people, well, I'm gonna disappoint people, and because you're not where you want to be. You've got a vision and you've got to keep going forward, and you sometimes forget that refueling is such an important part. And then not only that, but it sounds like we are very similar people. And so then you pick up something and it's like, okay, I'm gonna join a chorus because I love to sing and I'm gonna do that. And the next thing you know is that chorus is gonna have a concert, and that concert's gonna be an obligation. That obligation means you've got to project manage it, and then you're gonna volunteer for everything, and all of a sudden, that is one of those things that drags you down, and you hate it, and you resent the hell out of it, and it's like, God, I have freaking rehearsal again on Wednesdays, and all I want is some friends. And so, I've heard this happens to people. I don't know anything about personal experience. But
We're working on the balance part, girls.
So one of the things that I've worked really hard on is, all right, I need unstructured time. That doesn't mean you go and join a team. It doesn't mean you join a club. It doesn't mean you do those things, even though you do those things because you think that'll keep you accountable to having this unstructured time. No, it just makes you a slave to that kind of time. And so unstructured time means time without a goal around it. And the second that starts, the gym can turn into one of those obligations. Any of these things that are supposed to be your downtime can turn into one of those obligations that you resent. And that's the part that you have to say, wait a second, there's a part where I'm Eren when I'm not Deau. There's a part when I'm not about content management or, architecting, document management, or any of the, dorky things that I say defines me. No, I'm just, I'm a screw up sometimes. And, oh yeah, I like to water ski, I forgot. It's just, you gotta remember those. And until you get that quiet place that you define as non-goal oriented time, then you're not going to get there. And so, and the more driven you are, and the more concrete that vision is of where you want to be, then the more important it is to have that time that says, yeah, we're not doing goals today.
Right. Balance is important.
One of my colleagues, when I was with Deloitte, we were consultants, and of course, we're so important because we're consultants, and we got all this stuff to do, and and we were struggling over how much work we have to do and how important we are. And she put down her pen and she finally looked at me and she goes, you know what, Marlys? We're not trauma surgeons. No one is going, and you'd mentioned it, no one is going to die. They may believe they are, but if I can't call you back about your husband that is bothering you, or he did this and he did that, right then and there, you know what, that may be your emergency, but that's not my emergency. And it's really hard, and once again, it kind of goes back to knowing your role. But your role is not to make everything better for people. But I think, just for me, I sometimes have to sit back and think, okay, whose problem is this? And what did they hire me to do? I can't fix the fact they married an asshole. Can't do it. I can't unwind that. But I can get you out of it.
This is all recorded, just so you know.
You know who you are.
All your past customers are filing suits.
That's right, they are. But for me, you know, and it's true what you said. Like, I have always exercised, but pretty soon before you know, I'm like, well, I gotta walk 10 miles every day, you know. And then if I haven't done that, well, and then I took up the piano. Well, I didn't practice the piano today, you know. And it becomes. But one thing that did help me, and I find I don't do that, is just spending time with other people and good friends, because being with your friends, and these are two of my very good friends, it gets you to kind of let go, and you don't even really know you've done it, but all of a sudden, you know, someone calls and you're like, pfft, you know, and you're just laughing and having fun with your friends.
Is this like tonight?
Yeah, it is. So that would be my, you know, thing.
So my name is Renee, and I'm a recovering perfectionist.
She hasn't recovered too well yet.
Like somebody else has been to a 12-step program. You know, in corporate it was interesting. Help desk, please. You know, whenever there's a problem, just call the help desk, you know. So who is my help desk when I suddenly decide to, you know, become an entrepreneur? For me, my help desk is, it's a mindset. It truly is a mindset. I do meditation without fail every day. You don't want to be around me if I haven't meditated. I'm not a nice person. I do I'm also, without it. I also do, I'm a certified breathwork coach. So breathing in I do conscious connected breath work. So that has helped really slow me down. Type A, go for it, competitive, got to be number one. That's the old me. The new me is still competitive, but progress, not perfection. And it's really important for me to make sure that I take on things that I'm not good at. In fact, I look for things. What can I say this? What can I half-ass today? You know, like, it's very important. I don't want to be the best at everything. It's just not healthy. I need to just do something for the fun of doing it and not worry about whether or not I'm the best at it. So that's really important to me, because I'm not a small talker. I like to talk very seriously, with all my friends can tell you. I like to have very serious and real conversations, but sometimes you just need to have fun and let loose. And that's where, as Marlys pointed out, having a good support system is important. I think, who was it, Annie Lamont, that said, almost anything works, I think she says, almost anything works well once it's unplugged, including you.
Great.
Sometimes we just have to unplug and allow the opportunity for, as Oprah says, the universe to dream a bigger dream than we could ever dream for ourselves.
That's true, yeah. Thank you. All right, we're kind of running low on time, but we have just one more question that I want to just kind of run past everyone. What would you say are the one or two things that have really contributed to your success as an entrepreneur?
So I would say my passion, again, that was kind of like my theme in the beginning, you know, why I started this. And then my network. I mean, I hustled for my network. I'm originally from Philadelphia. I came down here because I got an investor who was the former CIO of Marriott, who lives in Roswell. Yeah. He brought his buddy, the former CIO of Hilton, onto my board and as an investor. So now I have the two major industry titans, and they've just opened tons of doors for me. So that network, I mean, I didn't know this person. I just found someone who, you know, it was like 4-degree connections, and somebody cold emailed him, and he was like, "Oh, are you going to be in my area?" I was like, "Yes." I didn't know where he lived. I just said yes. He's like, "Oh, okay, meet me in Roswell, Georgia." So I was like, bought a plane ticket and showed up, and now I live here. So, you know, it's you just follow those little threads and get at it. You know.
Great.
Yeah.
I think for me it's tenacity. I genuinely like most people, and also, believe it or not, a little bit of stupidity.
Okay.
That
All right.
that I think has helped, because if I really was aware and really, really smart, I probably wouldn't have done it. I probably would have stayed at, you know,
Corporate.
PricewaterhouseCoopers
Yeah.
and, you know, kept doing that. But
No regrets, though, right?
No, and that's
Yeah.
the thing. I mean, I joke, but I have no regrets about
Okay.
about doing it.
All right, Eren?
I think I can be very persuasive when I believe that what I'm recommending is the right thing to do. And I'm also not afraid of anything. And those two things together let me take some risks and go after some accounts and some opportunities that most people would have written us out of very quickly on. And I was like, yeah, but why? I mean, why wouldn't you do business with me? And, those things together and that kind of confidence and belief that, I am good at what I do with this.
And that's a big key, is actually having the confidence and the faith. In
Or at
what
least
we're doing.
faking it really well.
Well,
Some days that's all you can do.
yeah. Renee?
A couple things. Without a doubt, for me, something that I feel like has really contributed to my successes, in one word, willingness. I have a willingness to step through my fear. I feel it, but I step through it. In fact, sometimes it's really just an illusion. I tell myself it's not really real, but I'm willing. I'm willing to set aside that fear, and I'm also willing to create and recreate. Just because I did it yesterday doesn't mean I have to do it again today. I'm the master of my life. I can take that eraser and I can just erase that and start right over. And the other thing is, I think that the old saying, there's a reason that the windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror. I have no time for looking at the past. All I have is right now. And one of my teachers says something, says it so great, something like, yes, the past has played a role in my present, but let me tell you right now, my present is playing a role in my future. And I don't believe in mistakes. I just don't. I don't believe I think there are opportunities. And I don't spend any time looking back. I just take the time to look at where I am today, thank the good Lord above for where I am today, and and everyone in my support system for where I am today, and then I look at what I can do to make tomorrow a better day. So it's a real willingness to set aside rigid past beliefs that were taught as a kid that just aren't true, and recreate what is true, and really live what we are demonstrating with our businesses. Really live on the edge. Really live what we, as a business owner, really live out there. Really live it and experience it. And finally, like it. I mean, if I'm not in this to have fun, what am I doing? So that's got to be a priority. So those are the things I feel like
All right,
maybe
great. Thank
the
you.
willingness to chill out, relax, take a look, and spend time right now in the now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Do we have time for questions? Question is, if you're wanting to start a business, where do you begin? I mean, we have Google for search, but where do you actually start if you want to create a business?
I think for me, it goes back to, not to be continually repetitive, but knowing your role. What do you want your business to look like? What do you want to get out of the business? And then you kind of can start to backfill it, because you know what? You're probably a lot smarter than you think about figuring out what business and what you need to do.
Yeah.
It just kind of comes, and and you got this great resource here and other people, but it's really understanding what you want to do and what's going to be
your
your role in
intention.
that. Yeah, and doing something you want to do, because it's
Right.
going to get hard.
If you see an opportunity, I think, and you know what your intention is, if it's to solve a problem, if it's to fill a gap in providing a service, or you see an opportunity to fill a need, it would really be kind of researching that and finding, is anyone else doing it? Is it already in existence? Are there competitors? How are they doing it? Can you do it better? And I mean, I'm just kind of.
No, that's absolutely right.
It's what do you want to do, and who's it going to help? And once you can define those things, then you can start to look at how do you market it. You get into the Google side of things, you're really talking more about branding and promotion. But before you do any of that, you don't have to go to the whole world. Just, okay, I see, there's a pet store owner and she desperately needs somebody to walk her own dogs. Okay, well, I'm going to start a dog walking service for pet store owners. It's, one of the things that I just had a great thought. It's going to stay in my mind for a little while, and it had to do with a conversation that I know exactly what it was now. Is that I was talking earlier to a friend of mine who's here tonight, and she was talking to someone else, and she said, the smaller you can define your market, the more successful you're going to be. And so, who exactly do you want this to? I mean, visualize that person. What do they look like? How does that work, and why do they need it? And once you can articulate that, then you can start to be really compelling in how it is that you present that to other people and get them to buy in.
And then I think then you kind of directs you in the correct research and everything you need to do, because now you have a very defined path.
Yeah. ATDC, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
The Atlanta Technology Development Center in Midtown. It's right on Georgia Tech's campus. Also, if you're in the tech space, they have a really great customer discovery and kind of like, they kind of handhold you in the beginning. They put you down a path, they give you mentors and everything. That's a really great resource also.
Wow.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll just say on that is, I think there's a reason that when Jesus performed miracles, he said, go and tell no one. Go and tell no one. Do not tell anyone that you want to start your own business that is not in support of you. And the other thing I would say is turn off the TV.
Yes.
Because I opened my business in April of 2008. Does anybody remember what happened in 2008? The economy tanked. And you know what? I didn't believe it. Because if I believe in what the news had to say about how I was going to be in business, I would not be in business today. So I turned off the TV and I tuned into myself and what I knew I could do. And I believe being a business owner is a calling. And I think that if you're called to be a business owner, you can't not be successful. That's just how I believe.
All right. So the question is, what about investors? How do you, are you self-funded? Do you have a small business loan? Are you rich and come from a wealthy family? How is it that you're actually subsidizing your business? So the additional part to that is, is it better to first develop the concept and the business and then look for funding, or do you look for funding when you have an idea? I mean, how is it that you actually approach that from an initial standpoint? And I think it's going to vary, but we have a variety of situations here from experienced entrepreneurs that can contribute.
Yeah, do as much as you can without them. Absolutely, it will retain as much equity as you possibly can in your own company. I definitely jumped too early. I got a $10,000 check from a good family friend that I just was like, bye, corporate world. And then that was out really quick once I had to provide iPads for my first hotel, which, they were expensive. And then I had to end up waitressing. So basically what, I think is the biggest thing is, where do you get investors is, for the first part is, start with family and friends. They're the most supportive. They're going to buy into your dream, and then invite the sharks in. Don't do that until you're ready. And when you do start raising bigger capital, at this point I've raised about $2 million, raising another $1 million right now. Thank you. So I started out in Philadelphia, where the investment market is a little bit rough, a lot of old money. People are very conservative, and what I noticed was that I got bad deals, and it also had to do with the fact that I didn't have a lot of revenue, I didn't have a lot of traction, so the more traction and revenue that you can get, the better your valuation, again, the more equity that you're going to retain. But I also didn't vet my investors well, so what ended up happening is when I moved to Atlanta and ended up getting these absolutely phenomenal investors, they bought out those bad guys. They bought out, I had a 28% discount on my cap. I had a cap of 2.8 million, and it was a rough round, and my investors really, the next round of investors really had to believe in me to buy those guys out. So it was a really tough situation to be in, but we overcame it. But I mean, I wish people didn't have to go through that, so definitely do as much as you can with the people that just believe in you. And like I said, I raised $70,000 from family and friends. I'm Lithuanian. We had a very strong Lithuanian American community in Philadelphia, and they just believed in me. They said, we don't care when you pay us back. just put an interest rate on it, and it'll be a loan. And then that just converted into equity this year, and that was in 2014. So they really, of course, at every family party, expect questions. That's the only thing I can say. I did that in Philadelphia. That's how I got those bad investors. It's Shark Tank, by the way. If you ever do have a consumer company and go on Shark Tank, all of that is very edited for drama. My friend ran through that. They got invested, and they renegotiated everything on the back end. So, good news for you. Yeah.
Diane Estner is a master connector. She is wonderful at being able to matchmake people, friendships and other, but she's really good at knowing who's going to get along with who and if these friends and these friends are going to get together. But she's really a great connector. She knows a lot of people, and she wants to make sure that those people have the resources that they need, whether it's personal or business. And I'm very grateful to Diane for the friends that she's introduced me to. So